Look through the WebMD pages and also the NAMI site, and both are very informative. What they tend to lack that the DSM-5 presents, uh, taking, of course, they take most of their information directly from DSM-5. They lack all the specific criteria, specifiers, and differentials for all the mental health disorders. This diagnosis guide is as thorough and accurate as can be found today. So basically, all the different information out there needs to be coming from the DSM-5 if we're looking at it. The information on either web page gives the reader the general details of the diagnosis, but nowhere near the pinpoint needed to empirically judge an illness. WebMD fails to use inclusive language revered in mental health fields. NAMI tended to be just a little bit. It seemed like the site was a little bit subjective, not bad though. Like I said, the information on the internet is accurate enough to give the layman enough motivation and knowledge to contact a professional to find out and to get some questions answered for themselves. The DSM-5 allows a reliable paradigm that clinicians can follow a more accurate follow to a more accurate diagnosis. Basically, it leads less to be guessed about. ADHD is defined in the DSM-5 as a pattern displayed by a person as inattention or hyperactivity, impulsivity, or a combination of the two that causes significant boundaries in the person's life. Before the age of 12, it's usually diagnosed. Present in multiple settings and symptoms are not sign of something else. Basically, there's not something else acting on the person. There are a list of characteristics that include debilitating symptoms like organizational deficits and lost items that are used to complete tasks. These are under the first category, inattention. Another example is avoidance of work that requires a long time commitment to complete. The second category of symptoms is hyperactivity and impulsivity list. Inabilities to quietly play and complete tasks or activities. This includes other subcategories of synonyms like impatient and intrusive behavior. Excessive movements is another symptom present in the person who may be suffering from this. The specifier list can narrow answers to treat questions, allowing the helper to close in on treatment options. Most speak to what degree each category of symptoms weighs as presenting and how long each has been persisting. Differentials instruct the reader to rule out other diagnoses before becoming hung up on one. This is the parent guide and must offer a pathway for the counselor and the client to follow to a solution. Other publications paraphrase the DSM-5 just as the writer has above. As I have above, rather. The WebMD site is not hard to navigate. It does not seem long ago that this was an introduction to the internet. I remember just looking around on there, and WebMD was just kind of a fledgling thing. Didn't have a lot of information on it yet. The format, as mentioned, is stuffed with so many ads that from vendors that it's actually hard to read the article. The article extends 2 pages. The narration is directed to one who has an acquaintance or a loved one who has a disorder, or has a suspicion of a disorder. The article gives these 3 groups of symptoms of ADHD as inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. The 3 are defined in the rest of the article and are included in the bullet list and symptoms one may experience and resulted to ADHD. It does a good job summarizing the DSM-5's diagnostic under. It does a good job summarizing the DSM-5 diagnostics under neurodevelopment disorders in smaller bites, so that those who are not familiar with the technical language in mental health can understand what they're reading a little bit without being too overwhelmed with information. This particular article is written in such a manner that it is well in context to refer to those struggling with ADHD in the third person. However, this method of reporting does a poor job of separating the person from the diagnosis. I think they could have just done a better job by just giving the information, not trying to put it into a scenario. The NAMI site was equally conclusive. The information is delivered more in the language of the DSM-5. NAMI is a wonderful organization. It is presented around the world, or represented around the world. They do not merely provide bulleted lists entirely. The lists are scenario-like sentences that elaborate the information being reported. That means it's something that, it seems like it just runs a little bit better with how a person would have those kind of questions presented in their mind. When referred to as being subjective, it was meant with respect, of course. The organization was formed to offer those families and friends suffering with a mental illness, or just living with a mental illness, resources for help. It was mothers that started, I believe. The problem with presenting the information from a manual such as DSM-5 is to refer to those who are not qualified to diagnose themselves, or immediate circle of family or friends should always be referred to an expert that can help, basically. Again, if the site wants to tell people to go to see their professionals if they have questions. The information in the DSM-5, as specific as the American Psychiatric Association can get presently, meaning they have all the information they presently have through research. It'll take updates if there's more coming up, but they tried to make it just as recent, as up to date as possible. Using the DSM-5 to help guide the sufferer can ease their suffering much sooner. Notable sites like the ones mentioned above can give a person curious about their own or another's behavior or health, and are able to ease some of the anxiety that may be associated with that before they get in to see somebody, and it might be the stopping point that doesn't allow them to go see their doctor. So that's my report on ADHD. Thank you.